Yo, what up? It's your boy Black with Black TV. We're giving reviews and hip-hop news. And today was day one of the Tory Lanez Megan Thee Stallion trial. And I'm going to do a full recap and breakdown of what all happened in today's trial. But first, don't forget to hit subscribe to Black TV for more reviews and more reactions. Hit that like button, and in the comment section below, tell me who you think actually is going to come out on top of this. You think Tory Lanez is going to be found guilty, or you think Tory Lanez is going to actually walk out the courtroom? And if that happens, all kind of light is going to be shedded on Megan Thee Stallion, because she's been lying and this and that, and the public eye is going to look at her pretty differently. Put that in the comment section below and let me know. So first thing first, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what the 12 jury was looking like on day one when they first got in there. Megan and Tory's trial day one, the jury consisted of 12 women, 4 black jurors, 1 older black guy in his mid-60s, 2 older black women in their mid-60s, and 1 black woman in her late 20s. So right there, in my opinion, that's kind of biased, because you have 12 women on trial, and that's gonna kind of look kind of weird, because if they feel a certain type of way towards Tory, that's gonna be an automatic guilty in my opinion. But with Megan's story flip-flopping and being wishy-washy, it's gonna get kind of hard for her to portray her story in this trial. So it might go either way. Nancy Dillon, when she was reporting on the story today, she says Lanez just walked into the courtroom holding hands with a young boy who appeared to be his son. I couldn't get a good look, meeting lined up to the side. Lanez also was accompanied by his father. Not clear how long the child will stay. Judges typically restrict kids under 10. The prosecutor said in opening statement that Kelsey Harris will testify that she saw her close friend get shot by the defendant. And that's a whole nother thing. Kelsey never said on her Instagram live or anything on social media that Tory actually pulled the trigger. Nonetheless, she didn't say who actually pulled the trigger. The only person that actually said that pulled the trigger was Megan Thee Stallion.
In the Tory Lanez trial, we had opening statements. Opening statements are still actually going. We have to pause midway through for lunch. Better than TV. If you watch the prosecution's opening statement, you would say guilty. If you then watch the defense's opening statement, you would say, what the hell is the prosecution thinking, charging him? Basically, the prosecution started with this story. They said that, hey, they're all at the party, and Tory is leaving the party with Meg. They're in the car. An argument breaks out, during which Meg says and insults his skills as a rap artist. This leads...
Hold on, wait a minute. First of all, Megan, you cannot insult Tory Lanez about him being a rapper. I mean, obviously, look, I am not going to take it away. You're a good artist, but you're nowhere near as good as Tory Lanez. That's just my opinion. I'm sorry.
To a situation where she gets out of the car and he shoots at her feet and yells, "Dance, bitch." And then she ends up at a hospital, and a doctor takes out 3 fragments of bullet wounds from her foot. Now, if you just hear, and the prosecution says that Kelsey, the other woman in the car, is going to testify that Tory shot Meg. And Kelsey has a text message where she texts somebody that, hey, Tory shot Meg. And then the rest of the prosecution's case is based on all these calls and texts where Tory's like, oh, I'm so sorry, oh, I'm so drunk. He never says that I shot him. He's just like, oh, I'm just so sorry, I'm so drunk. So question what he's apologizing for. So that's the prosecution's case. Seems pretty easy. Then the defense comes up, and man, it gets spicy. First, the defense goes, they're not telling you about half of what's going on. The most important thing they're not telling you about an eyewitness who saw 2 women fighting, Kelsey and Meg. And so let's talk about why them 2 are fighting. Let's talk about how she was in the front seat. The gun was caught in the front seat. Let's talk about how she might have gunpowder. She does have gunpowder. Let's talk about how this has nothing.
And that's a whole nother issue. Like they got to ask themselves, why was Kelsey and Megan fighting? But obviously we all know by now that they was fighting the fact that they both was messing with Tory Lanez. I mean, if you don't see that being an obvious thing, I mean, you're blind.
To do with the fight between Tory and Meg, and everything to do with the fight between Meg and Kelsey, and then the defense starts dropping the bombs. He basically says this, that they're in the car. Yeah, they left, but do you know why they left? They left because Kylie and Tory were in the pool together. And Kelsey and Meg both felt some type of way about that, to the point that Meg felt really some type of way about that. And she was really trying to go, to the point that eventually, because of how Meg is acting, this is according to the defense, Kylie Jenner goes to Meg Thee Stallion and says, it's time for you to leave. They all leave. The defense's point is what happens in the car is this. Tory questions Kelsey, hey Kelsey, why are you backing up Meg for me trying to, get it on with Kylie Jenner? Meg has been snaking men from you your whole life.
So basically, Tory dropped the beans about him messing with everybody around. And then that's kind of messy / playerish, because Tory Lanez is that type of artist where he really don't give a damn, basically.
Up with you, Kelsey. And then Meg went behind your back and hooked up with me. And Kelsey, this is not the first time. You have been hooking up with Ben Simmons. Meg went behind your back and hooked up with Ben Simmons. You have been...
Man, not only they was messing with Tory, they've obviously been messing with Ben Simmons. And Ben went on social media. He actually says those are false accusations. But I digress.
Up with the baby. Meg went behind your back and hooked up with the baby. And so the defense starts dropping all these grenades. The crowd is captivated. The jury is like, oh, what's going on? And there's every reason to believe that there could have been a fight here, not between Tory and Meg, but between Meg and Kelsey. And the shooting could have not been Tory. It could have been done by any one of the other people in that car. What does all of this mean? Well, I'll tell you a couple things. First, Corey Gamble, Kris Jenner's husband, is going to testify, so this will continue to be must-see TV. Two, the judge is terrific. I expect a very fair trial. The lawyers on the defense side are terrific. I don't know what the government lawyer was doing, giving an opening presentation that made it seem like the most open and shut case ever, when in fact there are huge questions, including an eyewitness who saw two women fighting, suggesting that you have to explain that theory to the jury, and you didn't. I don't love the prosecution's opening in that regard. Stay tuned. We'll have the full coverage here. It's up and it's stuck in the Tory Lanez trial.
And that's kind of strange, because the baby, like a month and a half ago, admitted that him and Megan Thee Stallion actually did something together. And even with that situation, Megan Thee Stallion denied that she did anything with the baby, but the baby just made a diss song actually messing with you. Now, I don't know what y'all thinking about right now, but it just seems like all of this is just a big mess.
In Tory Lanez. So we are taking our afternoon break. There's going to be more testimony at the end of the day, but right now, let me catch you up on what's happened since lunch. The defense continued and concluded their opening statement. They confirmed that their theory of the case is going to be that Kelsey was the shooter, Tory was just trying to break up the fight. Then the prosecution went up. They put on a police officer as their first witness. This is the police officer who arrived at the scene of the shooting. He testified about how he saw gun casings, blood spatter. This was a big mistake in my opinion, because the defense attorney ended up tearing this police officer's testimony to shreds. He basically got the officer to admit that they did not use the proper evidence markers to mark and identify the location.
Just that right there, by the police not doing correct protocol, smashes Megan's case just by that little fact alone. So why you didn't do protocol? Why you didn't ask why this was happening? It's all messed up, bro.
Piece of evidence. So the police cannot tell you where blood was found exactly in relation to the gun casings, where based on the trail of blood the victim would have walked around. They can't tell and paint the whole story of what happened when the person got out of the car. Why, if you can't paint that story, why, if you didn't use the evidence markers, why, if you purportedly have a very simple case, did you waste your time making your first witness a police officer whose testimony is going to get torn to shreds by the defense attorney? Big mistake in my opinion, if you ask me. From here going forward, the defense will always be able to point out that the government's investigation is completely incapable of telling the jury about the movement of the victim outside of the car. So
that right there, that's probably going to be thrown out, because they didn't do correct protocol. They didn't identify where the actual blood was when Megan supposedly got shot. And it's just all a mess.
All right, we wrapped up the first day of Tory Lanez trial testimony. Let me tell you what happened at the end of the day. This will be a two-parter. On this first part, let's cover what prosecutors believe is their key piece of evidence after the testimony they expect to get from Meg. and the other woman who's in the car. So here's the prosecutor's point, that there's a jailhouse phone call reminder to everyone: when you get arrested and you're sitting in jail, they are listening, they are recording. What you say on that phone will be used against you. According to prosecutors, Tory calls the other woman who was in the car, Kelsey, and basically admits to shooting and apologizes profusely to her. The problem with that theory, according to the defense, is that, well, he never says he shot her. He's just apologizing profusely, and he could be apologizing for a lot of things. According to the defense, the apology is for basically blowing up Kelsey's spot and revealing that he had been in a relationship with both of them. What side will the jury believe?
See, and that's my whole point. Like that makes logical sense. If Tory blew it up about him messing with Megan and Kelsey, of course he's gonna apologize, because everybody in that environment was drunk and sloppy. He sobered up when he got in jail, and he basically apologized to Kelsey about that. Not shooting, just spilling the beans, actually.
Way too early in the evidence. That call on its own means nothing. In fact, the evidence that was presented was through a detective. They asked that detective, hey, when did you listen to this jailhouse call? What can you tell us about it? He basically said, yo, I heard it last week. They asked me to go retrieve it from the system. I retrieved it. I'm playing it here for y'all today. What does it mean? What does he mean? What's he talking about? I don't know that from that, so I couldn't really tell you, and he can't. And the jury is going to be looking at the rest of this evidence to really decide that, hey man, when this guy's calling Kelsey and saying, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to, what's he talking about?
Exactly, like I said. So the prosecution actually is trying to use Tory Lanez jailhouse call as proof of him shooting Megan, and that's really not the case, because the evidence shows in itself right there. Now Tory, he was walking out the jail, out of the courthouse, happy and good praises. Here you go.
To style your shoes as you come into that's a big comment to you. Very proud of that.
Cheesing, ain't it? So yeah, there you have it for day one of the Tory Lanez Megan Thee Stallion court case. And I must admit, for right now, it's kind of looking good in favor of Tory Lanez. But tomorrow is day two. It seems like tomorrow that I know of, Megan Thee Stallion is taking this stand and really is gonna make or break this case or whatever. So we'll find out tomorrow. But the most important question is, what do you think about this whole trial? What you think about the day one court that's been going on today? Leave it in the comment section below. Hit that like button. Don't forget to follow me on all social media platforms. Black Music, BLACMUZIC. And until next time, I holla. Next time on Black TV.